Okay, so now we're going to talk about contour cutting using Great Cut 3. So first thing we're going to do, of course, we're going to import our high resolution image file. Now, you don't want to go to open. That's only going to be for items that you have already saved as a Great Cut file. We're going to go to import. We're going to select our file, and there we go. So now you're going to want to resize your image to fit the paper that it's going to be printing on. I'm printing on an 8.5 by 11, so I really don't want my image going too close to the 8.5 left to right, or to the 11, you know, over here. But I think we can get it with having it a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to resize it a little bigger. There we go. That's about right. So now we're going to set our jog marks. We're going to go under Tools, Set Jog Marks. Now let's click off and click back on just the jog marks, and let's make sure that they're going to fit in our 8.5 by 11 paper. So it looks pretty good. We have just under 8.5 left to right, and then under 11 going top to bottom, so that actually should fit great. Now, one thing you may want to double check is in your settings, go to Standard Settings, Register Jog Marks. You want to make sure that your line thickness is at about 0.080 at least. It's going to default to 0.040, and oftentimes it's going to be too thin for the laser on your cutter to read. So you just want to thicken that up a little bit to at least 0.080, and you shouldn't have any problem at all with your cutter reading your jog marks. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in on this. On the bottom left here, this jog mark, you'll see how it has a special marking on it, just to indicate where you want to position your blade before sending it to cut. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Okay, so now we're going to print our image with the registration marks on it. So to do that, we're going to just hit the print tool. Now, we want to check our print preview. It looks like it's barely going to fit, and that's cutting it kind of close. If I had a printer right now plugged in that could print borderless, it would definitely fit. But since it looks like it's coming in too close, what we're going to do is click on our registration marks, and we're just going to bring them in just a little bit. We want to make sure that everything prints. So now we're going to go back to our print tool, and look, that looks perfect. Now, one more thing you want to double check is your ratio. You don't want to do any sort of image scaling at all. If you scale your image to fit, or you printed anything other than a 1:1 or 100% ratio, it's not going to read your registration marks properly. So you want to keep the proportions at 1:1 or 100%. So this is good to go. We're going to go ahead and print it. Okay, so now that we've printed our image with the contour marks, we're going to go ahead and put it on our multi-tack carrier sheet. Now, if you want more information on the multi-tack carrier sheet and how to use it, please view our other video here on YouTube. So we're just going to go ahead and put it as close to center as you want. You want to lay it down and kind of roll it on. Make sure that you smooth it out so we don't get any air bubbles on there. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and load our transfer onto the cutter. You're going to want to make note of this mark right here, the special corner mark. This is always going to go in the front right of the cutter, and I'm going to load this in so you can see what I mean. You're going to want to take special care to make sure that your cutter is aligned, so I'm aligning it with the ruler marks here. I'm going to clamp down here on the left, and then I'm going to go ahead and line it up on the right, clamp down there. We're going to go offline. We're going to feed it in, and you're going to want to position the blade directly over that front corner mark that we were talking about. I'm going to hit origin set. Now we're ready to go. Now we're going to have to create our contour line. So when doing this, you want to click on just the image. You do not want to do like a select all or anything like that. So click on your image that you want to trace. We're going to trace the border of it. We're going to go to Tools, Contour Line. Now you notice here the color of my contour line is bright red, and I do that so that way when I render the contour line, it's easy to see. If it's black or another like kind of more dull color, it might be hard to see exactly where your contour line is going to be, and you'll know what I mean in just a moment. Another thing is that my contour offset is at -0.02, And I'll show you why in a second. Actually, let me set that to 0, and we're going to calculate, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if we zoom in here, and it actually traced this pretty good, but you see right here how it drew the line, and there's a little bit of white exposed. Also right here on the ear, you know, it traced pretty close, but it's not always going to be perfect when you're tracing like JPEGs and, you know, other non-vector images. So when doing that, it's not really going to be a problem if you're using light transfer paper, but if you're using dark transfer paper, you know, you will definitely notice the white border right around, you know, where it cut around the corners or the edges, you know, and it didn't cut perfectly to the edge, or didn't trace perfectly to the edge, I should say. There's one way to get around that, so what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and hit undo. And let's try it, trace it again, but we're going to use a negative offset this time. So let's go negative 0.02, and we're going to go ahead and calculate. And so now you'll see, and I'll zoom in a little closer, so now you'll see that it's traced inside of our design, and it's actually cutting into the design a little bit. Now the benefit to this is that there's no white border exposed at all, and if you want, you can kind of, you know, inspect the entire image to make sure that it did trace properly. So now when this cuts, it's going to cut into your image a little bit, but the plus side is that you're not going to have any white border left on your cutout. So if you're using dark transfer paper, you definitely want to be using a negative offset to make sure that you don't have any white border that's going to transfer onto your shirt. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and send this to cut. We're going to go to File and Output. You can also just hit the S key on your keyboard, and you want to make sure that your mode is cut with AAS. If you're on regular cut, it's not going to read your jog marks. It's just going to send it straight to cut, and it definitely will not be good. So make sure you're cutting with AAS. Now, one thing you'll see when we switch to AAS, for example, let's go back. We have way more options here, and these are going to be your AAS offset. So now, if you've noticed that your cutter is cutting just a little bit off to the left or a little bit off to the right still, you can correct that with an offset. Now, this is in fractions of an inch, so you're just going to want to go very lightly, like maybe like 0.01 or 0.005 or something like that. You know, very, very small. And then once you set this is basically your calibration. Once it's properly calibrated, it'll cut perfect every time. Okay, so next we're going to go to our preview. We see that it's going to cut out exactly what we want. And if you're on your preview screen, if you don't want to go to cut, you can just hit the escape key. But since we do want to cut, we're going to go ahead and hit the enter key. And we're going to set that to cut. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and work with our transfer that we cut out of our silhouette cameo. Once you've cut it, regardless of your cutter, from this point on, the process is exactly the same. So what we're gonna wanna do is, we wanna carefully peel out the part that we cut. I'm just gonna grab it right here, and carefully gonna wanna peel that off. You wanna be very gentle with it because this is what's going onto our t-shirt. Now we're just going to carefully place this onto our t-shirt. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and place our transfer down on our shirt. We're going to cover it with our parchment paper. We're just going to flatten it out. Now when you place your transfer down, the ends may tend to curl up, so when you put your parchment paper over it, just want to flatten it out. Make sure it's going to be just fine. We're going to press it now 375 degrees for 25 seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off our parchment paper. We're going to pull this off, and there you go. We hope this video has helped you understand what contour cutting is and how to use it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below or give us a call at 1-800-215-0894. All the products we use today are available at heatpressnation.com. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button below and also subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our newest videos. And as always, we'd love to see what you guys are creating, so use the hashtag HPNCreators across all social media. Thanks for watching.